Massive repudiation of the Democratic Party and that we have to burn the whole thing down.
Come on,
and
Bryan.
up from the ashes rise some phoenix.
You're in denial.
Is a joke.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. I hope you guys are enjoying your family dinners, your time with your family, your time off of work. Work doesn't stop for me, but I will say this. It's not one of my normal videos, right? And I'll go ahead and get this out of the way right quick. Smash that like button, by the way. Subscribe if you're new around here. I'd appreciate that. That'd be great. But y'all know I normally don't do these. I only do debate videos on Saturdays, right? Well, the main reason for that, and I'll tell you that outright, is because my day job, what I have to do. I don't have time to go through and looking up clips and watch debates and all this other stuff. So when I'm off, I enjoy the hell out of just repudiating some of these arguments on these debates. I just love going in on the left. Yeah, I'm a conservative, but I see myself as more of a center-right leaning person. I'm not too much hardcore conservative or whatever, but you know, these days, looking at the left and looking at everything, yeah, to the left, I probably look like I'm some right-wing extremist, just insane guy, right? Like, oh, I'm just a MAGA through and through. No. Well, the longtime viewers of this channel know that I do have my criticisms of Donald Trump, and once again, I will say, I will be right here during this Trump administration anytime he gets out of line, arguing against anything he does that I don't like, because you guys know I don't like deficit spending. I don't like big government whatsoever. I don't like these things. So we're going to be right here, but we got some debates coming in, folks. Another Piers Morgan debate. Y'all know I love doing these. I'm off for the next 4 days. So we're going to take that time and enjoy the debates, y'all.
And I've done a column saying they love to try and cancel Donald Trump. They've lost spectacularly. He's won against that argument. They should be cancelled, because actually the days of just mainstream media having 98% of the people on it screaming abuse about Trump and all being brazen liberals or Democrats, they're over, aren't they? I mean, you guys took a drubbing. It's done. Toast. You've got to move back to accepting Trump's here for the next 4 years. And you better get with a bit of the program, because the screaming doesn't work.
Piers, do you not see any irony in, after years and years and years of conservatives and right-wingers and you coming forward and saying that cancel culture is bad, we hate cancel culture, this is the reason that the left is losing, and now you're calling for the view to be canceled?
I'm ahead of you. My final line says, given the enthusiasm with which the View hosts, all of them, tried so hard to cancel Donald Trump, they should maybe take their own lesson and be cancelled, because it's what they would want. Because they're now the ones, they said Trump was out of step with the American people. They said he was just a little representative of a small number of MAGA people. No, actually, that's not the case. He's had a thumping win across the board. Therefore, the View hosts are out of step with the American people. Therefore, they should be cancelled. And I don't mean get rid of the show. I mean, get rid of them and replace them with a more balanced team. Maybe you have a few men as well. Me and Geraldo could pop in there.
Piers, Trump won his election by a 1.5% popular vote margin in the country. Joe Biden won that by 3 times that much in 2020. The notion that this is some massive repudiation of the Democratic Party and that we have to burn the whole thing down and
Bryan.
up from the ashes rise some phoenix.
You're in denial.
Is a joke.
Bryan. Look,
I'm not.
and to make your day even worse, by the way, I know you do a bit of work for MSNBC.
Let me finish talking.
Elon Musk is about to buy you.
I'm not in denial about the fact that Democrats have lost, and in fact, I, more than anybody online, I'm sure on the left, has been open to this idea of introspection. What Democrats can do moving forward. But the notion that all of a sudden the Democratic Party is irrelevant when a couple million more people for the second time in this century voted for Republicans in the popular vote over the Democrats.
Come on, Bryan. If I said to you 2 years ago, Donald Trump will win the popular vote and the Electoral College and the Senate and the House and the White House, you'd have thought I was stark raving bonkers. You'd have bet your house, you'd have bet your family, you'd have bet every penny you own that could never happen. You've been all caught napping at the wheel, right? You fell asleep at the wheel and you let him drive by and take the whole shebang. I think Democrats should take a long, hard look in the mirror and admit You've just been completely pounded into total shameful, humiliating oblivion, and you've got to start again, and you've got to find politicians that actually resonate with the American people. And it's not the current shower you've got. Sorry.
So, Piers, in 2020, would you have said the same thing about the Republican Party that lost by a 4.5% margin nationally?
No.
Well, there you go. That's your comment.
No, because I felt the 2020. No, I'll tell you why, since you've asked. Because I felt the 2020 election was effectively a referendum on a once in a lifetime pandemic, which affected absolutely everything. If that election had taken place before the pandemic in 2020, say in February, Trump would have won, I think, by a landslide. So I think that's why I say they're different circumstances.
Now, you see, this is where I kind of disagree with Piers a little bit. Going back to the beginning of that clip right there where he's talking about canceling The View and getting new hosts and all this other stuff. No, we need these things. We need both sides. We need that extreme left and the extreme right. You know, the left, they want to cancel the right. They don't like us. They don't like freedom of speech unless you agree 100% of everything. No, we don't need that, right? And when people hear that, when they hear these people on the left saying, oh, well, they need to be silenced into oblivion. We don't need these. That's dangerous to our democracy and all this other garbage. No, I don't think that. I think we need all of this. You know, I endorse the idea that progressives show society where to go and conservatives figure out how we're going to get there, or even if we're going to go in that direction at all. And this election in 2024, it was a referendum on that, essentially saying, no, stop, we're not going to go in that direction. Democrats win traditionally. You know, they win a lot because they progress society. They move society a little bit in increments at a time, and we keep going. And for the most part, people agree with this. They're like, yes, okay, it's time to move on. Let's go with this. And then Democrats win, blah, 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 blah. But when we win as big as we did this time, going back to what Bryan Tyler Cohen was talking about when he was saying that, oh, well, Joe Biden won by 4 and something percent, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, you know, to his point, yeah, I think he was making my argument here. When you see a massive shift from going in this direction to going in a different direction, yeah, okay, it's time to back up. It's time to say, hold your horses. We need to rethink our strategy here. Okay, maybe we did go too far. Maybe we need to work on what we need to work on. This is what I think, personally. That's what they need to do. They need to self-reflect, a little bit of introspection like he was talking about. Hey, let's back up, check ourselves, because we're going in a direction we don't need to be going. That's what they need to see. That's what they need to come to grips with. That, yes, you're going down this insane path that obviously nobody wants to go down, because obviously we've gathered up at least 4% of the country and has shifted to this direction, away from your ideas, away from your ideologies, away from the plans that you had laid out for where society needs to go. That is what I think. That is what this election has shown me. And Donald Trump just so happens to be at the head of this, because he takes these culture war ideas and he puts them at the forefront to show people, look, this is what the left is. This is what they're all about. And it's not exactly right, because that's not what they're all about, right? You've got two different sides on the left. Just like on the right, there's different sides to all this stuff. You've got these insane woke ideologically driven nut jobs over here. That's the direction we don't need to go. That seems to be the mainstream on the left right now. Then you have the populist left, the Chink Uyghurs of America or whatever. That's more of the direction we need to go. What Chink Uyghur's talking about, because this guy is all over X and he's in my feed constantly, and I'm constantly reading his tweets. And you know what? For somebody I totally disagree with, who is just outright Trump deranged lunatic, outside of that, I agree with a lot of Chink Uyghur. Or some people call him Chunk Yogurt, which is funny. You know who I'm talking about. If you know, you know. It's hilarious, though, just to call him Chunk Yogurt, but, not to impugn anybody's character with that. I'm just, clowning around a little bit. I just find it funny, but, needless to say, that's more of a direction, if we're going to progress society, that's more populist direction we need to go, because right now we're on a populist movement, right? Trump has garnered this populist support from the country, and we need to take that momentum, build upon that momentum, and ram that point home. Populism is the future for the time being. Let's keep going.
Bryan, because you tweeted or posted to X on 25th of November about Project 2025. You've got one of the architects sitting right next to me here. You said Trump just named to architect of Project 2025 Russ Vought to his cabinet. But hey, thank God mainstream media didn't just take Trump's tepid denials at face value and slap them in their headlines before the election. So look, you've got an opportunity now. You've got one of the other architects sitting right next to me. What do you want to say to him?
I mean,
now's your chance.
I don't know.
That's very articulate. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know what you mean. Like, I don't have.
Well, you
obviously
have a big problem with Project 2025. You've got one of the architects.
Okay,
I have a question for him.
Okay,
I have
Geraldo?
a question for him.
And now it comes out. Now we see the truth. We see the freaking light. That's just hilarious to me, and I'm loving this because these people know he's got an architect of Project 2025, something they railed against. They made video after video after video, fear-mongering about, oh, Donald Trump's going to implement Project 2025 and blah, 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 blah. And now that he's got one of the architects right there in front of him, he has nothing to say whatsoever. It is one of the most hilarious things I think I've ever seen because they know that what they were saying was vast mischaracterizations, misrepresentations of Project 2025. They to the point of outright lying about Project 2025. So Bryan Tyler Cohen knows. And this is why I can't stand some of these pundits on the left because they know they're lying. This is how you can tell. They know they are lying outright when he gets in front of the guy, knowing this guy's got firsthand knowledge of Project 2025. For God's sakes, he helped architect the thing. He helped write it. He wrote the blueprint, for crying out loud, of Project 2025. So he knows what's going on. So Bryan Tyler Cohen has to tread very lightly right here. And it's so light he's treading that he doesn't say a damn thing at all. It's just silence. Just outright silence, and I couldn't help but enjoy that. But hang on, he gets to bring it back a little bit. Hang on, he gets a few minutes to cool himself off, gather his thoughts. Let's see what he's got to say.
I mean, Bryan, Geraldo bought you about 3 minutes of time there to try and think whether you had a problem with Project 2025. So now's your chance again.
I do think it's pretty telling that when Donald Trump had the opportunity to talk about Project 2025, all he claimed that he had no idea who was behind it. He had no idea what was in it. He had no idea whether the people who did write it, what they stood for. And
yeah, but as Kevin was saying, he was distancing himself from the
administration right now, including Russ Vought at OMB.
Right.
And yet now, when people don't have the opportunity to vote on it because they've already had that opportunity, suddenly all of these denials about his relationship with Project 2025.
But out of interest, what is your big problem with it?
My big problem with Project 2025 is Schedule F, and this notion that Donald Trump will be able to go in and replace career civil servants with political appointees.
Okay. You sound like a sore loser, Bryan.
That's your retort to that?
It's not a bad retort, is it?
Well, okay, let me put it in the form of a question. Let me put it in the form of a question. Will Donald Trump seek to go in and replace career civil servants with political appointees?
Ask him. He's the president-elect. And it would be a great idea if he did. It's also legal and appropriate because guess what the American people voted for, my friend? Reducing the size of the dramatic overreach of the federal government. Welcome to modern America. It's going to be a normal country again.
It's actually not legal because there's a regulation against it, and these federal employees have protections as career civil servants.
You should stop reading Howard Zinn and read some real history, brother.
All right,
that's your response again.
Let me just segue. I wanted to segue.
I guess you had all this opportunity. Kevin had all this opportunity to wait and listen, and his response is just that I shouldn't read what I'm reading.
Well, to be honest with you, I did open the door 5 minutes ago, and you blew it, so I've got no sympathy.
So out of the massive, almost 1,000-page blueprint that Project 2025 was, that's all he has to come up with is getting rid of civil servants and replacing them with political appointees. Well, you know what? That's actually a very good idea. That's one of the few things out of Project 2025 that I read about that I actually like, that I think is a great idea, and I think that the vast majority of Americans would agree. Right now, the way they frame it, the way the left frames this, oh, he's wanting to get rid of civil servants and replace them with people that is loyal to Donald Trump. Well, hang on. How is he going to do that? Yeah, political appointees. But you know what the difference between civil servants, these bureaucrats that he's talking about, and political appointees is? You can impeach political appointees. You can't really get rid of these protected civil servants. Yes, it's going to be hard for Donald Trump to do this, but if he can get it done, if he can implement Schedule F, he can get rid of a lot of these bureaucrats, people like Anthony Fauci, people like that. We can fire these people if they go to screwing up, right? We can now have accountability with political appointees. I would think that the vast majority of Americans, even a lot of people on the left, would agree that more accountability is better than less accountability. How about framing it that way? But they can't do that. They can't frame it in a good way. They have to take everything, twist it around, make it look like, oh, Trump's an authoritarian, right? Because implementing Schedule F would completely destroy their narrative that they've been building upon Donald Trump. What was I saying? I don't know. Sometimes I do that. But hey, look, needless to say, this is a great idea, and it makes their narrative about Donald Trump being a Nazi authoritarian dictator just smash and fall to pieces, because yeah, that takes away power from the federal government. That takes away power from Donald Trump as an authoritarian dictator. He has less power because now Congress can impeach these people and get them out of there if they start to screwing up. That's your argument, really. Less authoritarianism, because that's what these bureaucrats essentially represent, because they can make up regulations and rules, pre-Chevron deference, as a matter of fact, because this was a court ruling where basically these bureaucratic agencies, the EPA, the DEA, anybody could make up rules that are essentially laws without the authority of Congress to rule your life with an iron fist, essentially, like the bump stock rule and masks and, all the stuff around COVID, all of these little rules, mandates, all that garbage, right? Now we replace this with less bureaucracy, and if we don't like a new rule that the government comes up with the Chevron deference, it has to go to a judge. Now the left, they argue, oh, now we're leaving these decisions, we're taking the decisions out of the hands of the experts and leaving it in a judge's hand. Yes, as a matter of fact, we are, because what they essentially did is they deferred to the experts, the EPA, the federal bureaucracies who take lobby money. They take the money from interests of the lobbies and all this. They get lobbied by these corporations to do their bidding, essentially. Now, a judge is going to sit there and listen to oral arguments from both sides, make a logical decision on what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Yeah, I think I want to go with that one better. I think I would rather leave it to a judge to listen to the experts. If the experts make a good enough case as to why we should implement this new rule, then we'll go with that. If not, if it's an overreach, right, they have the legal knowledge to know, hey, this rule is an overreach, we're not going to go with this. No, I like that a lot better, right? But they phrased it as, oh, now we're leaving it up to a judge, acting like they wouldn't know, they wouldn't get to hear the arguments from the experts. Acting like, oh, it's a judge that doesn't know anything about medicine, blah, 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 anything. No, that's ridiculous, right? Just like with the civil servants, we're leaving these rulemaking or life-changing decisions up to a bureaucrat who can't be held accountable. I think this is a great idea. I think it's a wonderful idea. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. However, we need to keep on moving because I'm running a little bit long on this one. Let's keep going, y'all.
Bryan, just quickly, these two wars, Trump says he can fix them. They're very complicated, both of them, in terms of not just what's happened in the last year or two, but also historically. the history of these conflicts. Do you think he can pull off peace?
I think that Donald Trump has shown through his own rhetoric and even his cabinet appointments, including somebody like Tulsi Gabbard as DNI, I think he's shown whose side he's on. I mean, the fact that Kari Lake can't even come forward and say that a warmongering totalitarian dictator seeking to take the territory of a sovereign country is bad and just waving her hands around about money, and that's more important than protecting the sovereignty of a free country. Especially one, by the way, who is aligned with China, and they've got territorial ambitions as well, including Taiwan, and we have a vested interest in terms of our economy of having Taiwan be a free state. The fact that all of these people can't take a clear-eyed view of this because they're so aligned with, I don't know whether it's Putin and that axis of evil, whether it's just focusing on making the U.S. more like the illiberal state that Russia is. I'm not sure which one it is. I get why they see a lot of Putin in Donald Trump, and so they're putting on full display which side they're on. So do I think that they're going to seek peace for in deference to democracy in the world? No, I think that Donald Trump has already shown which side
that's
he's
where
on.
liberals go wrong when they compare Putin to Trump. It's like with all that Nazi stuff. It was so.
Yeah.
It's so.
But I didn't call him a Nazi.
It hurts me because
I didn't call him a Nazi. I said
no, you didn't.
There are authoritarian leanings
totalitarian.
between Putin and Trump.
There's no comparison.
Geraldo,
invade
Donald
Canada.
Trump tried to subvert the election result. He tried to subvert a free and fair election, incited an insurrection on January 6th. Don't memory hold this.
And he was impeached for it. He was impeached for it. That's the way we judge presidents.
You know that an impeachment process counts for nothing when you have an entire Congress
that's what our
I'm afraid we've run out of time.
Now, see, this is one of the big reasons, and a lesson the left will never learn with the cult left. If you don't agree with them totally on everything, you're the enemy. You're in total agreements with the opposite side, right? It makes absolutely no sense. There's no in-between position with these people, right? I am of the opinion, right? I totally disagree with that on as far as Ukraine, right? I totally disagree. I don't think we need to be involved. That doesn't mean I'm a Putin propagandist. Once again, I can say in the same breath, Putin's an evil scumbag, but I don't think we need to be involved in defending democracy in Ukraine. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know why we're not trying to stop this war. And they will say, I'm a Putin propagandist. I'm a puppet of the Soviet state. Yeah, Soviet state, not Russian state. Soviets. Yes. I'm a Russian propagandist for saying that I don't think we need to be involved, for saying that when I see two people fighting over here, regardless of who started it, doesn't matter. I don't care about that. I don't think we need to go and start helping the guy that was just minding his own business and got punched in the face. I don't think we need to go help that. I think we need to go over there and stop it, get these people to break up the fight, stop the fighting. But in these people's eyes, if I want to break up and stop the fight, have peace between these two people, then I am on the side of the guy that started the fight. Huh? How does that make any logical sense, my guy? Like, that's the problem with the cult left. If you don't agree with them on their entire world and ideological view and everything, you're with the enemy. There's no in between. There's no middle ground in this. And then he starts going off on, Donald Trump tried to subvert the election. Yeah, what you're leaving out there is what the left did in that election, right? They took advantage of a situation where people were trapped in their homes because of Democrat governors, not because of Donald Trump, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Yeah, it's Democrats that upheld the isolation of people in their homes, made them stay at home, shutting down economies. That was the left. But it's what they did in that election. They did some very underhanded, they had some underhanded tactics. I'll put it that way. It was insane what they did. They got Democrat activists to go to Democrat residences to get Democrats to vote for Joe Biden, or even Republicans to vote against Donald Trump. This is what they did, up to the point of harassing people to vote by mail. Universal mail-in ballots. That's how Joe Biden won. That's why on election night in 2020, Donald Trump claimed victory, because from all the counts of everything on election day, he did win. As a matter of fact, that's right. But they had all these ballots come in, all the mail-in ballots. They had ballots coming in late that were supposed to be illegal, right? That's the problem. Donald Trump saw all these ballots coming in. They're counting all these ballots, a lot of them post-dated after the election day, right? Like that's absurd, right? They come in well after election day, post-dated, blah, 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 blah. You get it. He tried to challenge this through the judicial system, and all of a sudden, oh, he's an authoritarian dictator because he wants to overturn an election, overturn a legit election. Right? Like, it makes no sense. Of course he's challenging these ballots because we have an election day. The Constitution dictates an election day. That's what it calls for. It doesn't call for an election week or an election month or an election year, right? It's an election day. So all these ballots that come in late, yeah, they're illegal ballots, essentially, and that's what most of the fighting was about. Now, a lot of the other components to this was changing election laws, right? I did a big story. As a matter of fact, if you're interested in the shadow campaign, what the Democrats did, right here at the end of the video, there's going to be a link to a video. I would suggest go watch it. It's very, very informative as to what Democrats did in 2020 to quote-unquote save the election. It was a conspiracy, in their words, a cabal, a group of individuals behind the scenes going from state to state to change rules, change laws, to figure out how they can win an election. Right? They called it fortifying the election. Yeah, they fortified it against Donald Trump, or what they said, against Donald Trump's assault on democracy. That's what they say. That's their words, right? Which is garbage. They rigged that election in their favor, and they changed the rules to make it legal. That's what Donald Trump had to fight in 2020. Otherwise, Donald Trump would have won hands down, no problem. Just look at, like, all you got to do is look at the vote count from 2016 to 2020. Donald Trump got, what, 62 million votes? Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but she didn't win the election because the swing states, electoral college, blah, 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 you get it. But 62 million. Translate that to 2020, he had almost 75 million, right? You don't gain almost, over 10 million, 11 million votes and still lose an election? Yeah, there's something funny that went on there. Just look at the number difference, right? Hillary Clinton had 65 million votes. Joe Biden had 81 million votes. That's absurd. That's an absurd amount of people, more people showing up to the polls. That's insane. So what they did was change the rules to make it easier for people to vote by mail, right? Which is insane. And they didn't notify the other side they were doing this. It was totally unfair. However, once again, it was totally legal. Why? Because they changed the rules in the 11th hour to get that across the line so they could win. They fortified the election. It's insane what they did, right? It's genius, if you ask me, right? Outright genius, right? We figured out a way to cheat, and then they figured out a way to make cheating legal. That's what they did. That's a very good idea. It's underhanded as hell. But look what it got them. It got them Joe Biden. It got what they wanted. And what did Joe Biden do? He's destroyed this country. I know that sounds like a hyperbolic term, right? But he essentially has. He's destroyed a lot of traditions and norms in this country. He's destroyed our standing on the world stage. He's literally destroyed our southern border. Any semblance of border security we had is gone, right? He's weaponized the government against its own people, for crying out loud. He used social media platforms to silence voices, to silence people's political speech online. That's a violation of the First Amendment. He was sued to stop him from doing that outright. Lost that suit because the evidence was there. The evidence was clear. The federal bureaucracy was silencing voices on social media. Can't do that, right? There's been nothing but lawfare coming from these people. They've sued state after state after state after state. They've sued for all kinds of different reasons. They've spent loads and loads of taxpayer dollars in legal mumbo jumbo. And for what? To push an agenda that goes against the interests of its own people, the interests of its own country, all to keep themselves in power, it seems like. That's what they're doing here, right? It's just insane what they've done. And I've made videos going over all this, so if you're interested in any of these topics, scroll through my video archive. I can assure you, you'll find something interesting down there, but I think I've made my point quite clear on this video. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all these arguments down in the comments section. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'm always in the comments section, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to ask me, ask down in the comments section. I'll get back with you. I can assure you of that. But I think that's all I got for this one. Look, I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to do me a favor and smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. I would really appreciate it. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. I would greatly appreciate that too. It really, really helps. And I need y'all's help right now. But that's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. And then stay legitical. Peace.